the voice of the UK.
5 Live Drive with Claire McDonnell and Chris Warburton.
Now, before we get to the news at 6 o'clock, a disabled photography student has travelled more than 850 miles on buses across England. Wow, to highlight the challenges faced by disabled bus pass users. Dan Bowhay is his name. He is visually impaired. Travelled for up to 10 hours a day over 10 days from Land's End to Berwick-upon-Tweed in Northumberland. He's made a 10-hour film documentary about his trip, and we can speak to Dan now. Hiya, Dan.
Hiya, thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thanks for talking to us. Well, talk us through the trip. What inspired you to do it in the first place?
It started out really, I grew up in Hampshire, and in the last kind of decade, I've seen the buses that have serviced my town go from 3 routes to 1. And since I've moved to university in Bournemouth, and coming close to graduating, I've realised that kind of moving back home is not viable in terms of what services are there and where I can commute to. And just in terms of also the disabled bus pass I receive, the sort of concerns around the restrictions that it has on you and your ability to use that pass to get to work.
So this is what you were trying to highlight, was it, by doing
Yes.
this? Because the limitations on your bus pass, I think they meant that you could only travel after 9 o'clock, right, in the week. You couldn't go to Scotland, you couldn't go to Wales, so that's why you've just kept it to England.
Yeah, it's half 9 till 11 p.m.
Right.
Half 9 a.m, 11 p.m. is the weekdays usage time. So yeah, the ability to use that to go to work, to go to hospital appointments, and just to sort of travel for leisure, going shopping, none of those are allowed on the pass.
Okay, so 10 hours a day, which must have felt longer than that, I would have thought.
Yeah, it was quite the trip, yeah.
That really is quite something, isn't it? What did you learn from the experience about the bus service that we've got available in this country then?
Yeah, even before the trip, I spent a lot of time planning, trawling through timetables, working out what routes were there, and then in the lead up to the trip, still kind of referring back to them and looking what had changed in the meantime, and even on the trip, looking at what had changed. And then during the trip, there was kind of rarely a day where I wasn't waiting around hours for a connection, or waiting around for a bus that was running late, 30, 40 minutes. And then also accessible technologies wise, living in Bournemouth, it's something I've somewhat taken for granted, having these screens that say what the next stop is and having that audio, although half the time that doesn't work in Bournemouth. But on my trip, there were 3 buses that had audio, 1 bus that had a screen. So those accessible technologies are just not there or not functioning.
Yes, gotcha. What did you learn about people and how helpful or otherwise they are?
On the trip itself, the people themselves were great. The bus drivers were friendly, not really questioning what I was doing so far away from where my bus pass was registered. But I think a lot of the problems lie in terms of how buses are managed, the laws that the government has made in the past.
Sure.
So the people themselves, great. Management of how buses is kind of where the problem is.
Understood. And you've done your film. I know it's a slow cinema style film, isn't it? 10 hours. People can watch that. Nice and relaxing, isn't it, actually, for some people to watch those kind of things, Dan?
But so I kind of filmed the journey along my way, carrying a couple of GoPros and a camera with me, and kind of edited it into this extended take to kind of showcase the delays that I had and the sort of just how agonisingly slow it is to take this journey.
Well, look,
it took me 10 days to get there, and it's something you could drive in a day.
Let's hope it makes a difference. Thank you for sharing it with us, Dan. Dan Bowhay there.
The voice of the UK.
5 Live Drive with Claire McDonnell and Chris Warburton.